Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour. It's edition 202. It's week 27 of 2025. I'm Alexander Leipner, and a special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time, be it on air or online, as well as our Sandton Times Hour Nation in Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa and everywhere else in the world. Wherever you are, I'm happy to report that it is chilly, but well, in Sandtonland. And Vincenzo, back behind the mixing desk. I see you're busy chiseling off the last remaining ice off the mixing desk so we can try and make this week's show work. And I can tell you the gas heater worked overtime this weekend as temperatures dropped to very, very crisp numbers. Not that we're very used to this cold weather, but if that didn't warm you up, I'm sure the city of Johannesburg tariff increase for the 2025-2026 financial year, including property rates, electricity, water, and sanitation and refuse removal increase as well, that must have warmed the inner workings of your being. Don't get me started. So, this week, I had a chance to watch the highly anticipated F1 movie. Have you seen it? Did you go out this weekend and go and watch it? Let me know what your thoughts are. We're going to be talking about it later on in the show, and we're going to have a bit of an F1 flavor to the show this week. I thought it's a good opportunity to maybe do something a little exciting for the F1 fans, and if you're not an F1 fan, well, hopefully you'll get taken by it in one way or another. Also managed to catch a quick lunch at the Potluck Club at the Peach Hotel in Melrose, and that was quite a treat on a cold winter's afternoon to have a good meal. Always more details up on the website if you want to find out a bit more. What are we chatting about this week? Well, in a bit, I'll be taking you through a slice of Switzerland, from the Lindt Home of Chocolate experience to the streets of Zurich, for a brief stopover. Stay tuned for that. Then we reconnect with our regular commentator to chat about the latest F1 movie, as promised, which hit cinemas this past weekend. And finally, if you've ever been taken by some misleading advertising, well, stay tuned as we chat about a new campaign which shines a spotlight on false promises. This and more coming up, and I would also like to hear from you. If you get a chance to get in touch, do so, sending your questions, comments and feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za, or connect on social media at Sandton Times, or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you're part of our podcast community or you're not, well, make sure that you subscribe to the Sandton Times Hour on all leading podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, AfroPods, Podcast Party, and many more.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
So I recently had the chance to do an ever so brief stopover in Zurich, Switzerland. And when in Zurich, there's one sweet stop that simply can't be missed. And no, I'm not talking about a pastry shop or a corner cafe. I'm talking about the Lindt Home of Chocolate, an immersive, mouth-watering experience that brings Switzerland's rich chocolate heritage to life in the most delicious way possible. And whether you're a die-hard fan of those irresistible Lindo balls or someone who just enjoys a good slab of milk chocolate now and then, this is your ticket to Cocoa Paradise. So taking a train and a bus, it's just out of about 20 minutes outside of Zurich's bustling center, you'll find this very interesting building that was famously the Lindt and Springly factory in Kilchberg. And the moment you do get there, it's very clear that this isn't just a museum. It's a real full-blown five senses kind of experience, and the chocolate aroma hits you as you step in through the doors into the space. It's unbelievably popular. Tons of people booking well in advance to attend and get into the doors of this particular experience. There's a wonderful cafe. It's called the Lindt Cafe. As you walk in, they sell a range of pastries, including waffles and cakes, and also everything drizzled in anything and everything to do with chocolate, including hot chocolates, and I mean, you just name it. It's really quite a decadent experience. Then you have this incredible centerpiece as you walk into this building. It's a 9-meter high chocolate fountain in the atrium, and it's not just a gimmick, it's actually circulating 1,400 kilograms of real chocolate through 94 meters of pipes. And I think it works out to about 1 kilo per second that flows through this fountain. And it is unbelievably impressive. It almost reminds me of like one of those chocolate fountains you can buy at the store, but like just on a much, much bigger scale. So a bit of a pro tip, if you want to attend and see this space, well, I encourage you to book ahead because they also have chocolate making classes that you can attend, and they do fill up quickly. We were told they do these almost every day of the week, and they have a couple of classes every day, and they are booked out well in advance. So if you're looking for something to calm those sweet cravings, best you plan ahead. Make sure that you reserve your space, and you can thank me later for that. Inside the museum, your journey begins in an interactive chocolate world. It's a bit of a self-guided walk through the museum, but you do get some audio guides, and there's also multiple languages, things you can read, things you can press, things you can try out. And you can sort of follow the journey of the cocoa bean from its historical roots, but also from its physical growing roots across the oceans to how it's transformed into that creamy, dreamy, chocolatey experience that we all know and all love. And you can also witness some cool test facilities showing you how chocolate is made and processed, how it's roasted, tempered, how it's melted. I mean, the whole lot, and it's all there for you to see and kind of, enjoy a bit of the science and also a bit of the processing process. And of course, there's tastings. There's tons of tastings. You can try a whole bunch of different chocolates. There's chocolate fountains where you can sample as much as your conscience allows. No judgment all around. People went all out to try all the different chocolate variations. And then, as I mentioned, there's some classes in the chocolateria. This is where you suit up. You get a chef hat and an apron, and you get hands-on with chocolate making, and you're guided by one of Lindt's own master chocolatiers to craft your very own masterpiece to take home. And in this instance, we made some lollipops that you could personalize, as well as a chocoberry or a chocolate bear. It's really cool if you're a kid. Obviously, if you're adult, you're also going to thoroughly enjoy it. You get some expert insights and tips on how to deal with cocoa, how to manage it, how to make it, how to form it. It's very educational. It's also very delicious and quite addictive. It's a chance to really unleash your inner child and get close with chocolate. And then on your way out, well, what would any sort of attraction be without a little shopping experience? And they've got the world's largest Lindt shop at this attraction. It's about 500 square meters, and it's full of chocolates you would probably know and chocolates you probably have never heard of in terms of variations and limited edition things. They've got some seasonal exclusives, some special edition chocolates, and a variety of handmade ones as well. And there's some demo stations, so if you want to see some chocolate being made in real time, you can do that. And it's just edible artistry all around. So if you find yourself passing through Zurich, follow your chocolate-loving heart to, I love how they called it the Schokoladenplatz. That's the address, which means chocolate place, in Kilchberg. And because it isn't just a museum, it's really, I think, Switzerland's love letter to chocolate. And you'll leave with way more than just memories, maybe a few calories as well. If you want to get more details, you can hop onto the website, sandtontimes.co.za, and check out the Instagram for a quick behind-the-scenes video. We put up a video there, so if you're on Instagram, go have a look and see what this looks like in real life. A quick break, and more of the Sandton Times Hour right after this.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
So chatting about Zurich just before the break, interestingly enough, Zurich is looking to not just be a stopover anymore. They're trying to be more of a destination in itself. And I had a chance to connect with Zurich Tourism and some interesting stats from their side. In 2024, the Zurich tourism region hit a major milestone, 7.3 million overnight stays, which is up 5% from the year before. And you did hear that right, 7.3 million visitors. And interesting enough, if you're listening from South Africa, you'll know what I mean when I say Zurich feels like a preview of what a world-class city could look like. It's almost a shock to the system. It's immaculate, punctual public transport, clean streets, an overall sense of calm, efficiency, law and order. People stop at red traffic lights. I mean, the infrastructure is in mint condition. It's like someone understood the assignment and made it work. It's quite a lot to process. Let's put it that way. old world charm meets modern marvel as sort of the old and new Zurich kind of integrate. But of course, Zurich is no bargain bin getaway. Let me tell you, it's precise, it's polished, and yes, it is pricey. But that's where the savvy traveler wins. And I think as South Africans, we've always found a way to travel in the most economic way. And the Zurich card, which is available through the Zurich Guide app, is a great one. It's a lifesaver. You can literally get a 24-hour or 72-hour card, and it gives you access to unlimited public transport and literally anything. Trains, trams, buses, boats, cable cars, you name it, you can use that for that period of time. And it's fantastic because, a bit of a hot tip again, you can get onto one of the trams, which are air-conditioned. On time, they take you almost anywhere, anytime, and you can look out the window and you can pretty much see the whole city as it passes you by. It's well labeled, so you know exactly where you're going. And as I say, it's easy access and it's regular, which is really, really great. This card also gives you access to free entries to many museums and also some discounts at shops and restaurants. And then also a few surprises. So you can cruise Lake Zürich in the morning if you want to. Then you can hop onto a tram and take a little bit of a drive around the city and see all the amazing buildings. And then take in the sunset view in the afternoon from a nice spot, all without having to open your wallet again, which is really great. And I think that's some good value for money there. And if you are a bit of a football fanatic, well, one of the great museums you can visit with this card is the FIFA Museum. FIFA is at home in Zurich. And you can check out 3 floors, 3,000 square meters of the beautiful game. And yes, South Africa has something very special waiting at the FIFA Museum because there's a display celebrating the 2010 FIFA World Cup. It's got some original stadium seats from Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Rustenburg, which made me laugh. They must have taken these out of the stadiums and brought them to Zurich and installed them as a feature, which is quite fun. There's also a Bafana jersey, which is displayed alongside all the other jerseys of football nations across the world. And there's a whole bunch of interactive, fun things you can do at the museum. There's even a giant football-themed pinball machine. There's some e-gaming for the kids. And if you're a young or an old football fan at heart, well, it's certainly something you want to go and see and make the best of. And like I said, it's included on that card, so you don't even have to pay extra to go and see that. Back in the city, well, there's no shortage of ways to explore the city, and you can take a stroll up the Bahnhofstrasse, which is Zurich's luxury shopping artery. It's almost like the Diamond Walk in Sandton City, but on a totally different scale. There's a whole bunch of high-end boutiques and cafes and chocolate spots, and you can also take a walk through the Old Town, where you can literally see history the history of Zurich and those cobbled alleys, and do a bit of window shopping and see some charming shops and some nice surprises, and also visit some of the many churches that Zurich has, including the Großmünster Cathedral, which is great to pop into. And then there's lots of culture. I mean, the Zurich Opera House and the area outside of there is just absolutely gorgeous, especially at sunset. And obviously, once again, if you've got that card, you can get in and have a look at that. And there's also the most amazing cultural things happening in the city because it's such a walkable city. I mean, people are up till late at night. You can walk around the city. We managed to catch an open-air classical concert, which had people packed in a square, and it was a youth orchestra that was performing, and it really is a country that takes its arts and chocolate, mind you, very seriously. What I really loved about it as well is this balance and also this consciousness around nature. I mean, you take a walk around Lake Zürich, you take a look at the Limmat River that goes through Zurich, and it is spotless. When I say spotless, to the point that you can literally see the bottom of the river. Now, this is a major river that is running through a major European city, and it is so clean that you can actually see the bottom of the river. And they've got these swans that sort of paddle their way across the river. It is incredible to see a city and a country look after their natural assets to such a degree. As I say, if you find yourself on a layover or a weekend break, and maybe it's part of a European trip that you're planning, well, I think Zurich is definitely worth the experience. You can grab a chocolate bar, grab a tram ticket, and do a bit of exploring. And we certainly have some more details up on the website for you.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
And as we head into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner. And if there's anything that caught your attention during the show this week, but you didn't get all the details, well, you can hop onto the website sandtontimes.co.za and check out the show notes for this week and get some details, a breakdown of everything we've discussed this week, and so much more, including some additional links, some additional reading, and all the details, so you don't have to try and memorize it whilst you're listening. Also, be sure to check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times, and of course, make use of the WhatsApp line 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866. And feel free to send through your voice notes, text messages, and whatever else you feel is necessary. It's that time of the show when we turn our heads to all things entertainment and movies. I'm thrilled to be joined by our regular commentator, Tat Wolfen. Tat, good to have you back on the show.
How are you, Alex? Are you enjoying the freeze?
Tat, it is a bit chilly, but luckily you dragged me along to one of your movie premieres, and we managed to warm up around a cozy story.
Certainly. I want to tell you, if that movie didn't warm you up, nothing will. So are you going to do the big reveal here, Alex?
No, I think, Tat, you need to give us a bit of a rundown of what is probably one of the most anticipated movies of the year. It's F1 the movie.
It's going to grab audiences for various reasons. I think the gearheads such as yourself are definitely not going to want to give it a miss. Judging by the sighing I heard from numerous women in the audience, I think Brad Pitt's going to be quite a pull as well. So I think it's going to work on different levels. And even if you're not a racing fan, I think the movie just works on a narrative level. And in fact, you know, it reminded me of the grand 1950s melodramas. So one of the reasons was because of the epic rivalry between the two chief protagonists, Hayes and Pierce, who are played by Brad Pitt and Damson Idris. Secondly, because of the romance, and why the romance element reminded me of the 50s movies is that it's delicately handled. You know, as in the movies of the 50s, it's all implied, which I thought was very refreshing. So no sweaty grunting and heaving. And thirdly, no swearing. Now, I'm not a prude, and I've been known to fling around a few colorful words amongst my chums, but I really get fatigued by that ongoing barrage of bad language that Hollywood flings in our faces. It's aggressive, and it really gets annoying after a while. It's as though you cannot write a script without throwing in the usual bombs. So for me, the fact that it was dealing with sort of rough and tough motor racing kind of people, but it was the kind of movie you could take a young kid to and not to have to feel awkward about, you know?
No,
so
I agree. It is a really great movie. I was initially a bit worried. I thought, you know, with these adaptations, you know, so often we've seen TV shows that have turned into movies. We've seen computer games that were highly successful being turned into movies. And it inevitably becomes a big disappointment because I think a lot of these producers then rest on the fact that there's a big fan base, there's already a lot of interest in that particular property, and they kind of sort of take a shortcut on the storyline or on the production, and you're left wanting with these things, and you think, well, you know what, maybe they shouldn't have done that. In this instance, I almost was concerned it was going to be a similar story that was going to play out, but with people like Jerry Bruckheimer, Hans Zimmer involved with the music, Brad Pitt, I mean, even Lewis Hamilton's involved in the production side as well. It was a very hard movie not to get right. And I think they managed to tell the story very well, get a great production together. I mean, just the fact that they managed to film this entire movie in parts during actual Formula One races. I mean, that on its own is just mind-bending when you watch this thing, because you know that, you know, Formula One is such a high-value property. They don't have time for people to be saying, cut, let's reshoot this again, or can we line the cars all up again and do it again? No, they had to plan this out ahead of every race and say, cool, we're going to just fit in with the racing grid, and, you know, we can't get in the way of anybody because, you know, there's big money at stake, and these drivers are also not doing this for their health. And they managed to get some incredible scenes together,
but
basically shooting on the go.
I was amazed, really quite impressed by the fact that they shot it on all these legendary F1 tracks around the world. So whether it was Hungary or Italy or Vegas, wherever they went. So, if you are an F1 fan, it's going to really be exciting. I guess it's the same as making a movie about opera and shooting it at La Scala and the Met and all these other famous opera houses. The fans are really going to get excited about that. I'm sure they must have spent a really long time on this movie. And you can be sure, if you're going to use a brand like F1, you can be sure you have a whole team of F1 people, marketing people, brand people, whatever, making sure that every line in that movie, every shot in that movie is going to enhance F1's reputation.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think it was very carefully put together, which is not to say that it feels stilted at all, because it really kept going. Hey, listen, I must tell you, if you open a movie like this with Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love, then you've already got me on your side. and that song also set the scene for the adrenaline through that movie. I mean, do you remember that whole opening sequence? It was just like, I don't know, I felt like standing up and cheering. It really wound me up, and it told me that we're in for a whole lot of fun.
Listen, we were, and I think there wasn't a moment in that movie where you felt bored. And this is also maybe a little cautionary tale, is that I did speak to some people after the movie who weren't big Formula One fans and who did struggle a little bit with it. And I think once again, it's because it's almost like us watching American football movies, and we're not big American football watchers in South Africa. You kind of feel a little bit outside of the party because you don't really understand the game, you don't really understand the players, you don't really understand the mechanics behind it. And of course, the same thing can happen with Formula One if you're not somebody who watches it regularly or understands the sport. Not only are you going to obviously miss out on all the little Easter eggs that they've spread out and all the familiar cameos that appear in the movie, but the fact that you also then don't understand the sort of the energy and the essence of what goes on there, it can maybe leave you a little bit lost. But certainly for people who have a slight understanding, I think you're going to absolutely love it.
I think obviously the F1 fans are going to get more out of it. But I think there's also a skill involved where you should be able to show a movie about F1 or about American football or whatever it is. I've seen countless movies, for example, about baseball, which I enjoy, but I don't really know the rules, okay? But I think there's a certain skill involved in still bringing in non-fans. Now, I'm not a F1 fan. I don't hate F1, but I'm not a follower of F1. But I still, there was still enough sort of stuff to engage me, emotionally and all that kind of thing. Whilst I'm damn sure that you got more out of it than I did, I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the conflicts, I enjoyed all the little business going on between the various characters. And then I'm sure you got those little those little Easter eggs and things. But I think there is a skill involved in still making it translate enough for the non-insiders.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I mean, Tat, I'm guessing that this is a double podium finish for both of us. It's a thumbs up from both of us for the F1 movie.
Oh, most certainly. Yeah. I thought it was great fun. Look, at 2 hours 35, they could have maybe sheared 15 minutes off it or something, but I came out of there with a smile on my face.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we put up the review on the website. If you haven't had a chance to read that, you can also watch the trailer there. And then also, Tat, you've also got some reviews of other movies we haven't had a chance to chat about this week, but they're up on the website that you can catch at your leisure. And Tat Wolfen, it's been a pleasure chatting to you again, and thanks so much for taking me along for the ride around the racetrack.
It's always a pleasure. I enjoyed your company. Cheers, Alex.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
So cast your mind back, and when was the last time that you saw a piece of advertising that sounded just a little bit too good to be true? From products that just promised things that just seemed a little bit too much, and sales that never seemed to end. It's forever a closing down sale or whatever it is that they've got going. There's always some story behind that. Let's be honest, there's misleading advertising everywhere, and the chances are you've fallen for it at least once. But who's actually keeping an eye on the fine print? Who's making sure that everyone sticks in their lane and stays honest? In a bit, I'm going to be chatting to Gail Schimmel. She's the CEO of the Advertising Regulatory Board. They are the body who looks after South Africa's advertising and makes sure that it stays honest, ethical, and transparent. And they've just launched a bold new awareness campaign aimed at educating the public and holding advertisers accountable for the claims that they make. So how can you spot misleading ads and what can be done to stop them before they spread? Well, let's find out. Gail Schimmel, it's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Gail, what prompted this latest campaign by the ARB to launch, an awareness around misleading advertising at this time?
So it goes quite far back, and it goes to the fact that the organization that used to do this work was the Advertising Standards Authority, which went into liquidation in 2018, and the Advertising Regulatory Board took over the work of the Advertising Standards Authority. And we quickly started doing the work, but we have realized in the last few years that many consumers are not aware, firstly, that there is such a thing as a body that you can complain to about the content of advertising. And secondly, those who are aware are not quite sure who it is. Is it the ASA? What is this ARB story about? Who should we be going to? We did some research in the end of last year around awareness about the Advertising Regulatory Board. We are not happy with the level that our awareness is at, and therefore we are doing this campaign to try and raise awareness about who we are and what we do.
Well, it's quite remarkable. I find in South Africa, we do have a lot of different outlets that you can address certain things to. And like you say, a lot of South Africans are not aware. I mean, the one thing that everyone sort of grabs first is the Consumer Protection Act, which also has limits to what it can do. But there are so many other channels that you can go to, depending on what it is and how it works. I mean, we interviewed the Drinks Federation of South Africa the other day about sort of the work that they're doing. I've had some very interesting conversations with the Financial Services Board about sort of how they're doing things in terms of the financial sector. So there are ways that you can take on things that you think are not right.
There are, and I think it's really important that you understand which body is the right body, although we should all be referring to each other. You know, when we get a complaint that's not for us, we will tell the consumer which body is the right body to help them. But at the same time, different entities do different things and do it at a different speed. We work in advertising. Advertising has got a fast turnover. We can't be taking 3 years to investigate your complaint and going down every rabbit hole and holding hearings and et cetera, et cetera. We need to be fast. We need to be pulling that ad if it's harming consumers. So that's what we focused on. We focused on the content of advertising across all industries. The Drinks Federation is a very good example because they are a member of the ARB, and we administer a code on alcohol advertising on their behalf. But we have different fingers in different pies with all different industries. We will look at advertising wherever it is and whatever your issue is, as long as it falls within our code, and we will investigate that.
I mean, I had a quick squiz online at some of the latest rulings and some of the latest cases that you've had to dissect. And I mean, it's quite wide-ranging, from mayonnaise bottles that are pretending to be something else to alcohol brands who think it's, quite par for the course to have bottles on beaches and all kinds of interesting things. I mean, it's quite wide-ranging. What is the most common misleading advertising issues that you're dealing with right now? Do you have some examples?
You've actually answered it in your question, because the examples you used were quite fun examples. Imitation, the mayonnaise one was about imitation. The alcohol on the beach one is quite a niche rule about how you advertise alcohol and where you show alcohol being drunk. But you asked me what misleading advertising is, what do we really deal with it? And that's the answer: misleading advertising. South African consumers are actually mostly concerned about how far their rand is going. Is the special offer that they saw really a special offer? Is the discount that they saw really a discount? Is the thing that they bought doing what it said it would do in the ad? So the bulk of our work is actually the unfun stuff. We call them in-house chicken and juice matters, where it's the everyday stuff of life. So we get a lot about Cell phone contracts have been quite a big one at the moment. They didn't get the free thing that was advertised with the cell phone contract is one we get a lot of. And often then it's just a service glitch. When we contact the company, they sort that out for them. But sometimes it is that the ad is misleading. We see trends, and we've just come out of a few years of lots of complaints about soap, but we seem to be over the soap years now. I'm just looking at our complaints. We seem to be going into a bit of a telecoms phase again. We have them every few years, and we're getting quite a lot of telecoms related complaints at the moment. But it is wide ranging. But I would have to say the biggest thing is, we're part of an international body, and we compare notes with all the self-regulatory bodies all over the world. And our consumers are not worried about, we're doing work on a sustainability code, but consumers are not really worried about greenwashing. One or two are. Our consumers are worried about those basic, am I getting what they said I would get in the ad?
Very interesting. I'm glad to hear that the soap industry's come clean after that year of
You couldn't resist that one.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. Now, what must make it really interesting is that back in the days, you had radio, you had television, you had print, and you could kind of ring fence the advertising into those three categories and kind of keep it all under control. Now, with the internet and with influencers and with social media and with all these other things that are going on, where does your periphery start and end, and how do you even begin to try and keep these things under control? Because with influencers specifically, you're also dealing with people that are not necessarily subscribed to any code of conduct. They're not educated in the ways of marketing and communications, yet they've now jumped on the bandwagon and are promoting everything from, you name it, papyrus leaves to cell phones to the whole lot.
You used the word interesting. I would say exhausting is perhaps the better word, because it is very difficult and it is very hard to enforce. And I think the first thing that I should make clear there is we do not monitor advertising. We only act when we get a complaint. And that's really important. So when you see an ad and you think, how did the ARB let that through? We didn't let it through. We have to get a complaint before we can act. We simply don't have the resources to monitor advertising in a fair and consistent way. So we get the complaint, we assess the complaint, we see if it's valid. If it's valid, we investigate it. When it comes to enforcement, that's when the real problem comes in with websites, with influencers, with social media. We have established a very good arrangement with Meta. So when it comes to Facebook and Instagram, our teeth are now very sharp on those platforms. Obviously, an advertiser sending you a WhatsApp, it's really, really hard for us to enforce that ruling and make them pull their WhatsApp unless they are a member advertiser. Influencers, we're trying very hard to educate them about particularly the need to put hashtag ad, the need to make consumers aware that they have been paid in some way, shape or form for what they're saying. It's an ongoing work. But then it comes down to the complaints. And we don't get many complaints about that issue. Until we start getting more complaints, until consumers become more aware of it and other influencers start policing each other, we're not going to sort out the situation.
What are your efforts in terms of strengthening that enforceability or that consequence element? Because clearly, if there's no consequence, people carry on doing it, or it gets more exciting and more elaborate.
So it's quite a complex question. We are a self-regulatory organization. So the first thing that we have power over is our members. So when it comes to our members, which are industry bodies, which in turn bind their members, we're powerful because they're bound contractually to listen to our decisions. Broadcasters are also bound by the Electronic Communications Act to listen to our decisions. So anything on radio or TV, our teeth are very sharp. When it comes to other elements, we're constantly working to improve those relationships, to get the relevant stakeholder into the membership. We have a very good relationship with the Press Council, and the Association of Independent Publishers is a member, so we've got good newspaper coverage there. We have a good relationship with the out-of-home organization, so we have good coverage there. All we do is we pull ads. We don't have consequences further than that. We're about protecting consumers. So when an ad is harmful in some way, we just want to pull that ad to protect future consumers from that harm. We don't fine, we don't hunt people down and fire them as much as complainants seem to want us to. When it comes to the new platforms, It's a local effort and it's an international effort. So there we're working on two fronts. Our international body, which I sit on the executive committee of, the International Organization of Self-Regulatory Organizations, approaches the TikToks, the Googles at an international level, and then we do it at a local level. And we try to work like that to get a bigger enforcement area.
Well, there you have it. Gail Schimmel, she's the CEO of the Advertising Regulatory Board, talking about the work that they do and also this new campaign that they've launched to make you more aware. And that's why we're chatting about your rights and your responsibilities and your opportunities to flag things that you think are not right or are not correct in the advertising and marketing space. And we'll put up all the details on the Sandton Times website as well. If you can't remember or jot these things down, it's much easier. Just go onto the website and it'll be there for perpetuity for you to use. And Gail Schimmel, it's been a pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap for another Sandton Times Hour for another week. Feel free to send through your questions, comments, and feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media at Sandton Times or hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za or use the WhatsApp number 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866, and feel free to send through your voice notes, text messages, and more. As always, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. There's many to choose from: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or any other leading digital audio platform, and join the growing digital community. Thank you to all my guests who made the time to be on the show this week, and of course the team behind the scenes who make this process seamless and so much easier than if we were doing this any other way. A special thank you to you for listening, and God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.